proses yang mudah. Tahap pertama, persiapan internal dan persiapan dokumen dibantu oleh underwriter serta lembaga dan profesi penunjang. Tahap kedua, permohonan perjanjian pendahuluan pencatatan saham ke Bursa Efek Indonesia, serta penyampaian pernyataan pendaftaran ke Otoritas Jasa Keuangan. Tahap ketiga, penawaran umum kepada masyarakat. Tahap keempat, pencatatan dan perdagangan saham di Bursa Efek Indonesia. Lalu, bagaimana setelah go public? Dengan go public, perusahaan akan menjadi perusahaan terbuka dan pemiliknya berbagi kepemilikan dengan publik, serta mengikuti peraturan pasar modal. Pemerintah memberikan insentif pajak bagi perusahaan go public yang memenuhi kriteria tertentu terkait kepemilikan saham. Kemudian, perusahaan akan mendapatkan perhatian dari media dan para analis. Produk, jasa, serta proyek perusahaan akan semakin dikenal dan dipercaya. Peluang bisnis dan kerjasama akan semakin terbuka. Dengan pendanaan melalui go public, ekspansi usaha menjadi lebih mudah dan cepat, sehingga menunjang pertumbuhan kinerja perusahaan yang berdampak pada meningkatnya kepercayaan stakeholders. Pemegang saham pendiri atau founder tidak hanya dapat menikmati apresiasi harga saham yang dimilikinya seiring dengan peningkatan harga saham di bursa, tetapi juga mendapatkan perlakuan pajak transaksi penjualan yang lebih menguntungkan dibandingkan jika perusahaan belum go public.
Indonesia's state budget deficit reached 2.32% of GDP. Australia company Sun Cable will disburse $2.58 billion for investment in submarine cable in Indonesia. Good evening, viewers. Market Headlines is ready to provide you information from business, economic, and capital market sector. And as the pandemic is still ongoing, we'll provide you the latest COVID-19 information. Please stay safe by taking some simple precautions such as physical distancing, wearing a mask, avoiding. Let's open up market headline. The Ministry of Finance reported that the state budget deficit until the end of August 2021 reached 2.32% of GDP, or below the government's target at 5.7%, in line with fiscal consolidation efforts through debt control and increasing state revenues. Efforts to get out of the pressure of the pandemic continue to be carried out by optimizing state spending while maintaining tax revenues. Until the end of August 2021, the Ministry of Finance noted that the state budget deficit had reached 383.2 trillion rupiah, equivalent to 2.32% of gross domestic product. This figure is still below this year's deficit target of 5.7% of GDP, with the support of a tight fiscal consolidation policy. The deficit occurred due to state spending reaching 1,560.8 trillion, or 56% of the target of 2,750 trillion, while tax revenue is only 741.3 trillion, or 60.3% of the target. The low realization of the fiscal deficit has made the finance minister optimistic that fiscal consolidation can maintain the economic recovery this year.
Disebut story cerita tentang konsolidasi. Kita tetap defisit, tapi defisitnya menjadi kecil. Coba kita lihat defisit overall. Defisit APBN pada bulan Agustus 383,2 triliun. Di kolom sebelum yang kotak yang merah, dibandingkan tahun lalu yang mencapai 503,8 triliun. Tetap defisit, namun penurunannya mencapai 23,9. Ini cerita tadi, konsolidasi fiskal. Fiskalnya mulai diperkuat, namun ekonominya malah justru tumbuh.
And meanwhile, the realization of tax revenues until August 2021 continues to improve. Tax revenue grew by 9.5% annually, which was supported by improved revenues from various types of taxes, even though it was affected by the implementation of PPKM Level 4. The Ministry of Finance noted that tax revenues as of the end of August 2021 reached 741.3 trillion rupiah, grew by 9.5% on an annual basis. The positive growth was said by the Minister of Finance to have described improving economic activity. Although previously the economy was depressed by the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, in general, the condition of tax revenues has improved. The strongest recovery in tax revenues can be seen from the value-added tax, which reflects public consumption, up 12.6% compared to the same period last year, which was minus 6.2%.
Breakdown-nya ini menggambarkan tadi tahap pemulihan ekonomi kita yang terlihat dan tertangkap oleh pajak kita. Di dalam kurva ini kita lihat yang sebelah kanan, yang biru-biru itu menggambarkan perkembangan bulan Agustus. Jadi bulan Agustus sebagian, terutama untuk PPN itu mengcapture situasi bulan Juli, yang waktu itu PPKM level 4 terjadi, terutama di Jawa Bali. Namun kalau Anda lihat semuanya, ternyata PPN kita masih cukup baik. 13,2%, itu yang sebelah kanan bawah biru. Ini artinya terjadi adanya suatu resiliensi meskipun kita menghadapi PPKM yang disebut level 4.
Meantime, Bank Indonesia is optimistic that the third quarter economic growth will remain in the positive zone. The central bank said economic growth in the third quarter could still be in the range of 5% on an annual basis.
Bank Indonesia believes that the current pressure on the economy can still increase despite the government's easing policy of restrictions. Although the economy in the third quarter was affected by an increase in COVID-19 cases and the implementations of emergency PPKM, this decline in economic activity was only temporary. Bank Indonesia noted an increase in economic activity at the end of July 2021 and continues to this day. A number of indicators such as manufacturing PMI, retail sales, and export performance also improved. Thus, Bank Indonesia estimates that economic growth in the third quarter will reach 4% and in the fourth quarter of 2021, it will be in the range of 4.5%. Thus, economic growth throughout 2021 will be in the range of 3.5% to 4.5%.
Menunjukkan bahwa di triwulan 3 ini pertumbuhan ekonomi itu bisa mencapai sekitar 5% year on year, dan di triwulan 4 adalah 4,5%. Tentu saja ini harus kita pertimbangkan juga perkembangan. Insya Allah, sehingga kenapa secara keseluruhan kami masih memperkirakan tahun ini pertumbuhan ekonomi dapat mencapai dalam kisaran 3,5 sampai 4,3%.
In response to the momentum of economic recovery in the third quarter, Bank Indonesia maintained its benchmark interest rate at the level of 3.5%. This step was followed by directing the macroprudential policy mix to strengthen the economic recovery. From Jakarta, Rajo Patmo for IDX Channel.
And we're moving on to global update. The Bank of England capped its main interest rate at the record low of 0.1%. Meanwhile, Turkish lira fell to a record low after the central bank cut its benchmark interest rate. More stories on today's International Minute.
The number of Americans applying for unemployment aid rose last week for a second straight week to 351,000, a sign that the Delta variant of the coronavirus may be disrupting the job market's recovery, at least temporarily. Thursday's report from the Labor Department showed that jobless claims rose by 16,000 from the previous week. The Bank of England kept its main interest rate at a record low of 0.1%, while warning Thursday that inflation is set to be double its target rate by the end of this year, largely due to a sharp spike in energy prices. The decisions from the central bank's 9-member Monetary Policy Committee was unanimous, though 2 members voted to start reining in the bank's stimulus program, which is aimed at keeping borrowing rates low in financial markets. South Africa's embattled national airline has flown its first plane since March 2020 after emerging from bankruptcy proceedings. Once Africa's second-largest airlines after Ethiopian Airlines, had survived for decades on government bailouts and was shedding routes even before the COVID-19 pandemic struck. The government agreed in June to sell a 51% stake to a group of investors called the Takatso Consortium, opening the way to a potential injections of $200 million. Turkey's lira fell to a record low after the central bank cut its benchmark interest rate on Thursday, unleashing a new bout of market turbulence and reflecting the long shadow cast by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan over monetary policy. The Monetary Policy Committee reduced its key one-week repo rate by 100 basis points to 18%. All but one of the 23 economists surveyed by Bloomberg predicted the central bank would keep rates unchanged at 19%. IDX Channel reports.
Market headlines will be right back. Stay tuned with us.
Jika Anda adalah investor saham, Anda mendapat keuntungan di antaranya capital gain, yaitu keuntungan dari selisih harga beli dan harga jual saham. Dividen, yaitu pembagian laba kepada pemegang saham. Keuntungan lainnya, investor bisa memperoleh pendapatan tambahan dengan meminjamkan sahamnya melalui layanan pinjam meminjam efek atau PME. Apa itu PME? PME merupakan pinjaman efek sementara berupa saham dari investor untuk keperluan penyelesaian transaksi bursa. Apa saja manfaat yang didapatkan? Investor memperoleh keuntungan. Investor tetap dapat menerima dana sebagai pengganti dividen jika ada pembagian dividen saat sahamnya sedang dipinjamkan. Pendapatan yang diterima investor dari layanan PME dapat digunakan untuk membayar biaya penyimpanan saham. Saat nilai saham turun, investor tetap dapat memperoleh pendapatan hingga mengurangi potensi kerugian. Dan yang terpenting, KPEI menjamin pengembalian saham yang dipinjamkan sesuai waktu yang telah ditentukan. Menarik bukan? Prosesnya sangat sederhana. Investor cukup menghubungi perusahaan sekuritas dan menandatangani formulir perjanjian PME. Selanjutnya, jika terdapat kebutuhan penyelesaian transaksi bursa oleh peminjam, saham yang akan dipinjamkan diserahkan kepada KPEI melalui perusahaan sekuritas. Setelah proses PME selesai, maka KPEI akan mengembalikan saham yang telah dipinjamkan dan memberikan pendapatan kepada investor melalui perusahaan sekuritas. Segera hubungi perusahaan sekuritas Anda, Customer Care KPEI, atau kunjungi website kami untuk mengetahui layanan PME. PME, pinjamkan sahamnya, dapatkan manfaatnya.
Welcome back on Market Headline. State-owned Enterprises Minister Erick Thohir will dissolve 7 state-owned companies that are no longer operating but still have workers. This step is to provide certainty for both workers and the government.
SOE Minister Erick Thohir will dissolve 7 state-owned companies because they are no longer operating, but they still have workers. These workers never got a clear policy, so the government will provide certainty through the dissolutions of the SOEs. The first SOE is Merpati Nusantara Airlines. The state-owned airline has not aired since the last few years. This happens because the company's financial condition is problematic. Second, Industri Glass or E-Glass, where E-Glass is actually not a new BUMN that Erick has ever looked at to close. The consideration is because the company's condition is dying. Third, Istaka Raya, a SOE engaged in the construction sector, has reportedly been out of operations for a long time. In fact, employee salaries have not been paid for more than a year. The fourth state-owned company is Kertas Craft Aceh. This state company has also made Erick dizzy for a long time, so he wants to liquidate it. Fifth, the industry Sandang Panganan, which also received injections of funds from an asset management company amounting to 26 billion rupiah. This is given as an aid for the continuity of the company. Furthermore, Pembiayaan Armada Niaga Nasional, a company that is actually engaged in ship financing, but instead is targeting another line of business, namely hospitality, lastly Kertas Leces. However, he has not provided a more detailed explanation regarding when the closing of the 7 SOEs will be and what the settlements of the rights of their workers will be in the future. IDX Channel reports.
Australian company Sun Cable will disburse $2.58 billion for investment in submarine cables that export electricity to Singapore, where later the electricity distribution will stretch from Australia to Singapore via the Indonesian Sea.
Australian company Sun Cable will disburse $2.58 billion or equivalent to 36.7 trillion rupiah for investment in submarine cables that export electricity from Darwin to Singapore, where later the world's longest electricity distribution project will stretch from Australia to Singapore via the Indonesian Sea. Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment Luhut Binsar Panjaitan said, this investment provides a strong position for Indonesia as a country that supports renewable energy in Southeast Asia.
The investment proved that Indonesia is supporting renewable energy development in ASEAN to reduce global carbon emission. It is our greatest privilege to take part in supporting this project to create a better environment for our future generation. The commitment of Sun Cable in knowledge sharing and supporting research on renewable energy and ocean research with Institut Pertanian Bogor and Institut Teknologi 10 November Surabaya, and also scholarship program will surely drive further innovation and development in renewable energy and also energy transmission. In addition to that, we expect this project will have sustainable impact to our economy through various procurement programs that will benefit many industries in Indonesia and the government revenue in the future.
ASEAN-Australia Power Link will provide some renewable energy infrastructure and possibly energy storage from businesses in Indonesia. Indonesia is expected to become the main hub of the renewable energy supply chain by integrating energy storage technology and high-voltage direct current. Sun Cable also collaborated with the 10 November Institute of Technology and IPB University. Luhut said Sun Cable is committed to knowledge transfer to support research in the field of renewable energy and marine. IDX Channel reports.
Chinese lithium company Changxin Lithium will take a 65% stake in a lithium project in Indonesia worth $350 million. The investment in the electric battery factory is carried out to build production capacity abroad. Stellar Investment from Singapore will be the holder of the remaining 35% stake and has been submitted to the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. Later, the joint venture company will be named Changtok Lithium Indonesia. Indonesia's Morowali Industrial Park will be the location for the establishment of a factory that makes lithium chemicals in electric vehicle batteries. In addition, the area will also be home to several Chinese investment projects, including nickel and cobalt. It is estimated that this company can produce 50,000 tons of lithium hydroxide per year and 10,000 tons of lithium carbonate per year. And for information, Indonesia has banned the export of nickel ore in order to process more resources and establish a domestic electric vehicle battery supply chain. And next, good news came from Aceh, where the Department of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries of a similar regency revealed that it has recently succeeded in exporting 15 tons of octopus to Japan. Secretary of the Maritime Affairs and Fisheries Service of Similar Regency, Charles said the export of the octopus was carried out by Perindo, with the initial stage being shipped as many as 15 tons to Japan. He hopes that the export's octopus will continue to increase so that it can increase the income of the stimuli community, the majority of whom work as fishermen. In addition to octopus, Stimulus marine products such as fish, sea cucumbers, as well as various types of marine products from the island districts in the Indian Ocean will also be sought to be marketed abroad. It is hoped that the export of seafood from Similar Regency will continue to be sustainable so that it can improve the fishermen's economy and improve the welfare of the community. Stay with us because Market Headlines will be right back with informations from the capital market.
Saya harus memastikan bahwa siapapun yang lewat airport itu nyaman. Apakah satu keluarga, apakah orang yang mau pergi bisnis, ataupun seorang anak yang terpaksa berangkat naik pesawat nggak ditemani orang tuanya.
Ada tidak sih Bu dilakukan mungkin efisiensi atau perubahan yang cukup signifikan selain masalah teknis tadi?
Jadi yang tadinya airport hanya buat orang lewat, berangkat dan pulang, sekarang airport juga menjadi bagian daripada destinasi sebuah daerah.
Indonesia dipastikan sudah terlepas dari jurang resesi ekonomi setelah berhasil tumbuh positif.
Pemerintah melihat bahwa Q4 adalah potensi untuk kita membalikkan keadaan kembali. Kita memperkirakan.
Ya halo pemirsa, nama saya Mangivera Tjong. Saat ini saya menjabat sebagai presenter dan juga associate producer. Saat ini saya membawakan program IDX Session Closing, di mana di program tersebut saya menganalisa isu-isu ekonomi yang menarik, baik dari luar negeri maupun juga dari dalam negeri. Tentunya hingga saat ini saya masih terus belajar dan saya sangat menikmati profesi tersebut.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. At the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement, earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 6,151.38, and then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 6,142.25, and then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at the level of 6,144.81, and in short, JCI went up 0.03%. From Jakarta Composite Index, let's see the sectoral movement leading the dynamics of today's trading. We got energy as the leader of strengthening trend that went up 3.02%. Cyclic sector went up 1.65%. Infrastructure as the leader of weakening trend went down 0.74%, and transportation and logistics sector went down 0.7%. And moving on to top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading session. Bank Rakyat Indonesia went up 1.33% to the level of 3,820 rupiah per share. Adaro Energy went up 6.01% to the level of 1,500 rupiah per share. Agro went up 4.05% to the level of 2,570 rupiah. And Harum went up 18.53% to the level of 7,675 rupiah per share. And let's see the top losers of today's trading. Arto went down 4.35% to the level of 15,950 rupiah per share. BIBP went down 6.67% to the level of 2,280 rupiah per share. BMRI went down 1.65% to the level of 5,975 rupiah per share, and FRAN went down 2.54% to the level of 115 rupiah per share. And we'll see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. Open at the level of 14,258. Rupiah showing weakening trend towards US dollar, and was closed at the level of 14,297. And in summary, rupiah went down 0.27%. Bank Sentral Asia has obtained permission from the shareholders to carry out a stock split corporate action with a ratio of 1:5.
Bank Central Asia has obtained permissions from the shareholders to carry out a stock split corporate action. The corporate action has been approved by the Extraordinary General Meeting of Shareholders. The GMS approved the stock split with a ratio of 1:5. The par value per BBCA share is currently 62.5 rupiah per share, while the par value per BBCA share after the stock split will be 12.5 rupiah per share. Management sees that retail investors, including young investors in the Indonesian capital market, have a strong interest in investing in BBCA shares. With these corporate actions, it is hoped that BCA's stock price will be more affordable for the retail investors. The share split corporate actions was also based on BCA's commitment to support the development of the Indonesian capital market. IDX Channel reports.
Supported by the implementation of luxury value-added tax incentive, Astra International is certain to get a much better performance this year. Astra recorded car sales of 289,509 units as of August 2021. These sales jumped 74% compared to the same period in 2020. The sales up to August have exceeded sales in 2020. Meanwhile, LCGC car sales recorded an increase of 53.5%, reaching 71,612 units until August 2021. The company's LCGC sales are also close to full year 2020 sales. High automotive sales are the main catalyst for the company, considering that the highest revenue for first half of 2021 was obtained from sales of the automotive sector, with a contribution of 40% of the total consolidated revenue. According to Astra International Head of Investor Relations Tira Ardianti, the company will always provide the best for its customers, including aligning demand and supply of Astra products. Bank Jatim has budgeted capital expenditures of up to 165 billion rupiah to strengthen core banking. This is done to increase capacity and carry out development so that customer needs can be met. According to management, banking digitalization is one of the strategies that has allowed Bank Jatim to survive in the midst of the pandemic. In addition, Bank Jatim also strengthens risk management and governance in order to be able to survive in the midst of a pandemic. Specifically for digital, Bank Jatim focuses on 3 ecosystems, namely local governments and civil servants, MSMEs, and the general public. Its products include payment systems for various local taxes and public services. In the process, people just use the smartphone app. Meanwhile, the MSMEs have digitized the MSME program. It is very easy to apply for credit via e-loan.
Halo pemirsa IDX Channel, senang sekali saya Prisa Sampodatu kembali menjumpai Anda dalam Decision Maker, program yang akan menghadirkan perbincangan spesial bersama sejumlah pengambil keputusan di negeri ini. Iya pemirsa, hari ini saya sedang berada di Kementerian Perindustrian, akan berbincang spesial bersama dengan Direktur Industri Kecil dan Menengah serta Aneka terkait dengan seperti apa sih IKM menjadi tulang punggung dari perekonomian bangsa. Dan sebelum memulai perbincangan pemirsa, kita simak terlebih dahulu tayangan berikut ini.
Industri kecil menengah atau IKM disebut sebagai tulang punggung perekonomian bangsa tentu bukan hal yang berlebihan. Menurut data Kemenperin, IKM telah menyerap tenaga kerja sebanyak 11,68 juta orang atau 60% dari total pekerja di sektor industri. Peningkatan serapan tenaga kerja terjadi seiring dengan penambahan investasi dalam negeri. Berdasarkan data Badan Koordinasi Penanaman Modal atau BKPM, realisasi investasi di sektor industri manufaktur pada 2014 sebesar 199,1 triliun rupiah. Jumlah tersebut naik menjadi 222,3 triliun rupiah pada 2018. Sebagai informasi, IKM merupakan sektor dominan dari jumlah populasi industri manufaktur di Indonesia. Kontribusinya mencapai 99% dari semua unit bisnis di sektor industri. Dengan kontribusi tersebut, IKM memiliki peran besar dalam mendorong pertumbuhan ekonomi, stabilitas sosial, dan pengembangan sektor swasta yang dinamis. Terlebih lagi, IKM dinilai sebagai sektor yang tangguh dalam menjalankan usahanya di tengah ketidakpastian perekonomian global.